Yo, what's up YouTube family? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about something that gets overlooked so often in the Forex community, and that is just simply tracking your stats, right? A lot of people don't know what their win rate is. A lot of people don't know what their average winners are, average losers are. They just sort of trade, and based on whatever their account balance is, they think they're doing good or bad. And that's like one of the most destructive and worst things you can do as a beginning trader. Once you have your system down, your process down, you know your stats, then you can start judging performance, maybe based off your P&L, right? How much money you made or lost. But for the most part, as a beginning newer trader, that's like the worst way to base your performance on, especially if you don't even know your system, your strategy, your like I said, your statistics. So let's today talk about what are some of the things you need to be tracking, what are some of the things you need to do to start getting your statistics up, right? Because you're going to need to do this eventually, most likely, if you want to take this seriously and do this and make any consistent money for the most part. So let's jump right into it. But before we do, if you like the content that I provide, do make sure to hit that subscribe button because I will be posting weekly. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up because it does help grow the channel as well. And if you aren't already, do follow my Instagram account because I do post a lot of insightful stuff and just trades and whatnot on my stories and posts. So feel free to give it a follow. But let's jump right into it. So there's two ways you can get the data to start tracking and getting your statistics for your trading. One of those ways is forward testing, so just either live trading or demo trading, but basically just trading a live market and then recording your trades and everything like that. The second way is through back testing, which a lot of times, depending how you do it, might be a little less reliable, but there'll be more data and you can get data a lot quicker through back testing. So I recommend doing both forward and back testing and see if they match up. If they don't match up, then maybe your back testing is how you're doing your back testing wrong and all that. But we'll get into that in another video. Basically, you can either do back testing or forward testing to get these statistics. I recommend doing both. I think that'll probably cover your bases a lot better. And you could do both at the same time, right? You could just trade the live environment and on the weekends or whatever, do your back testing or something. I should also mention, if you don't know your strategy, if you don't know why or where you're getting in, why or where you're putting your stop loss where it is, why or where you're putting your take profits or take profit if there's only one level. Basically, if you don't even have a strategy, if you don't have a working strategy, you're going to need that to do. You need to do that first before you even start testing it, right? Because if you don't have a strategy, you're not testing anything. You're just blindly trading this. This looks good. That looks good. Usually newer traders do that, and I was guilty of it too. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just that your progression as a trader. If you're still at that stage where you're just throwing money at different things, I feel like it's going up, I feel like it's going down, it just looks like it, that's not the right way to trade. You need to have rules, entry rules, exit rules, basically a system, not just I think. So if you're still at that stage, focus on finding a system. You can do that yourself just by testing, trial and error, or you can find someone who already has a system or strategy and usually you pay them to teach you or whatever. Or even tons of free education on YouTube and whatnot, you should be able to find something. But anyways, once you have a system or strategy that you think might be worthwhile to test and see if it's a viable strategy to trade and use, then you can go to this part, which is the testing and getting your statistics for the strategy. So what are some of the things you should be testing? What are some of the data points you need? And you could do so many, but these are the basics. These are some of the main ones you should cover to just see if the system is viable. You could do tons of different stuff, but we don't need to do that for just a basic test. So number one is as you're going through it, and you should be doing this at the same time, these different criteria, right? You shouldn't do one whole test for win rate, one whole other test for like risk reward ratio. Like you should be taking these trades and then measuring what's the risk reward. Is it a winner or loser? So you're just doing doing this once, and you're getting all this data. So the first thing obviously is win rate. You should be measuring your win rate. That's not the most important stat by far. A lot of people think it is. It's not. But win rate is important, so you should mark it. So in your back test, just log all the trades, and then put was it a winner or loser? And at the end, you can count up your winners, count up your losers. Boom, you have your win rate statistic. Number 2, which is the win rate, and this is probably, I'd say, the 2 most important data points. Your win rate and then risk reward. What's your average winner, average loser? And I say average winner, average loser because a lot of people put their stop loss and take profit, and then in live trading, or maybe even you'll do it in your back test, forward test, they'll take profits early. So it doesn't matter if your win rate is 60% with a 1 to 3 risk reward if your average winner is only 1 to 1 because you can't let your profits run and you take your trade there. Really, it's not a 1 to 3 risk reward. It has to be actually where you're exiting. So that's why I would recommend doing this after you log all your trades. Record your winners and losers, how much, either in pips or money. Probably do it in pips. It's probably better if you're back testing and forward testing. So how much pips you actually won on the trade. Because if you can't let your winners run, then that's a problem. So when you're testing, make sure you're actually following your plan. Otherwise, the test doesn't make any sense. So record your winners, losers, how much pips you made in your winners and losers, and at the end you can record how much was my average loser, average winner, and that will give you your risk reward, right? Maybe you think it's 1 to 3, but it actually ends up being 1 to 2 when you've done the average. So then you have a good idea of whether to keep sort of testing or keep using the strategy. Because if the stats say it's not profitable or it's break even, there's no point in continuing testing. So yeah, but if the results are promising and even let's say your win rate is 40% and your risk reward is 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, that's profitable. If your win rate is 60-70% and your risk reward is 1 to 1, that's still profitable. So yeah, I would test and then look at your win rate and risk, and then average winner, average loser. That will give you an idea if your system's profitable or not. From there, you can start testing things like different risk reward ratios. Maybe is 1 to 2 better than 1 to 3 because the win rate is different. Maybe 1 to 1 is better than 1 to 2. So then you can start playing around with different tests, trying to optimize your strategy. And then maybe you have different criteria. Maybe you'll find one setup is more probable than another setup. So list your actual entry criteria for each trade in your tests and see, for this criteria, what was the win rate? For this criteria, what was the win rate? For this criteria, what was the win rate? And then you can get a good idea, okay, when I see this setup, it's more probable than this setup, I'll risk a little more, I'll risk a little less on the less probable setups. Then you really start to develop into an actual trader, more of a professional trader, because the stats, it actually is profitable over 1,000 trades or 100 trades or 500 trades. That brings me up to another point. 50 trades is not going to cut it. Even 100 trades is not going to cut it. I would say 200 to 500 trades is better on your tests. And if you're back testing multiple pairs over 2-3 years in the past, and you're forward testing for a few months, getting that many should not be hard. For one strategy I was back testing, it was a scalping, I guess you would call it scalping strategy. I have like 600 trades that I've tested, forward and back tested. And it's given me a 60-70% win rate with a 1 to 1, 1 to 2. So shows really promising signs of being a nice profitable system. But regardless, so do make sure you have lots of trades logged. It might take a couple weeks or even a couple months to do this. If you're really determined, probably a couple weeks to test and at least back test, right? Because you could do a back test at any time. And you can get through a whole year or 2 years of testing or 2 years of data for one pair in a day. It depends on the strategy. It depends how short term or long term. The strategy I was just talking about, I'm looking at H1, H4, mainly H4. So I could get through a year or two of data somewhat quickly. If it's a 5-minute strategy, that's obviously going to be a different story if you're trading on the 5-minute chart. So that also depends on, you know, the time frame that you're going to test. But anyways, 200 to 500 trades minimum to then look at the win rate, look at the risk reward, look and see if it's profitable, right? And then another thing too is test multiple pairs. So get maybe 100 trades back tested on one pair, then 100 trades back tested on another pair. Do different pairs. The strategy I was just talking about really works best and maybe is only profitable on a couple pairs. So if I traded it on Euro USD, it might not work. It might not even be profitable. So also you have to look at different pairs testing, because different pairs move different ways. Different currencies move different ways. So really you have to take that into account when you're testing. Maybe you should avoid the yen pairs, all yen pairs, because it doesn't work with your strategy. So really, that's going to be important too. All these different factors that newer traders probably don't look at or think about, but it's good that you are currently watching this video so that you can start doing these things and developing into a better trader rather than, I think that strategy works, I don't know, this looks good, I don't know. So little recap here. Win rate is going to be important. Average win, average loss, very important. Those two are going to tell you is going to be what tells you if it's profitable. And then test different pairs also to see if some are more profitable than others or profitable at all. Forward and back test. Do both, because some people are bad at back testing. They think that they would have taken that trade, but it's really in hindsight. So I recommend going on TradingView. You have to pay $15, I think, $10 a month, and you can then go back in time and just replay bar by bar, which will give you so much better results for your back test rather than just trying to, you know, scroll and think that looked like a good trade, but really you saw what happened afterward. So if you go bar by bar, you can't see what happens in front of, you know, you can go back to 2018, 2017, 2016, and still go bar by bar. So I do recommend doing that for your back testing. And then forward testing is just, you know, regular old trading and then journaling your trades. So yeah, that is essentially what you need to do in order to test your strategy and get your strategy stats. Now, I have one last point that people overlook when talking about getting your trading stats. And that is, if you know your trading stats and the system is profitable and you continue trading it, it will tell you what to expect, right? If your win rate's 40%, you shouldn't beat yourself up that you lost 2 trades in a row, because your win rate is 40%, even 3 trades in a row, right? Your win rate's 40%. There is a chance you will lose 3 trades in a row and your system is still profitable in the long run. You'll still make money. So on the flip side, if your system says 60-70% win rate and you lose 4 trades in a row, there might be some problems because you know what to expect. You expect to win at least 1 out of 3 or even 2 out of 3 on average. So, you know, when you lose 4 trades, 5 trades in a row, that might be something concerning. Maybe the market's changed. Maybe you tested wrong and your stats are actually wrong. Or maybe you yourself are not spotting good setups, you're not being patient. So there's so many things to consider, but knowing your system stats will give you a so much better idea of what to expect in your trading. How often should you win? What should you make on your winners? Etc., etc. And of course, all this is given you take your testing seriously. You take your back test seriously. You take your forward test seriously. Because if you don't, then your stats will be off, and then there's really no point, right? So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video.